Welcome back to the show, everyone. Today, we're going to be looking at Stuart Evey's autobiography, ESPN, Creating an Empire.
Oh, fantastic.
And it's an interesting story and kind of a wild ride. And, moving furniture for the Getty family to launching a media empire.
It is incredible, yeah. It really speaks to the diverse experiences that can shape an individual's path.
And how those seemingly unrelated, events in his life could coalesce to sort of equip him for this really unpredictable world of television.
Absolutely. It's a testament to the adaptability and just the remarkable way that life kind of prepares us, even if we don't realize it at the time, for what lies ahead.
So let's start with his early life. Born in Harve, Montana,
Okay.
and his father had a job with the railroad, so they moved around a lot.
Right. The Great Northern Railroad.
So how did this nomadic lifestyle, how do you think that affected his outlook?
Well, I think it really instilled in him, an inherent adaptability. And I mean, one constant remained amidst all of that relocation.
Right.
And that was his passion for
Oh,
sports.
yeah.
I mean, from playing baseball as a kid to witnessing the O'Brien twins on the basketball court at Seattle University, these two short guys who just dominated. I mean, it really fostered in him this belief that limitations could be overcome,
Yeah.
which I think we see later in his career as well.
Yeah. Defying expectations.
Yeah, exactly.
Those Seattle University twins really captivated him.
They did. They did.
It proved, like you're saying, that you don't have to be, that you can be small but mighty.
Right, exactly.
But he also struggled with academics and eventually enlisted in the U.S. Army.
He did, yeah.
He was sent to Berlin, part of the honor guard.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what valuable lessons do you think did he glean from this experience?
Well, beyond the obvious things like discipline and leadership, his time in Berlin actually reignited his passion for sports after he witnessed the extraordinary talent of Elgin Baylor playing basketball.
Oh, wow.
I mean, imagine seeing that level of athleticism firsthand.
Yeah.
It must have been incredibly inspiring.
He was exposed to some remarkable talent during that time.
Right.
But even before his military service, his father instilled in him sort of a crucial concept, I think, and that was the distinction between shepherds and sheep.
Interesting.
Now, how do you think that concept informed his approach to business?
Well, it became a cornerstone of his leadership style. He understood the importance of guiding and supporting others, even in the fiercely competitive world of business. It's a testament to how these early life experiences really shape our worldview.
Yeah, and how those lessons can carry on. Now, speaking of influences, let's talk about her time at Getty Oil Company.
All right.
I mean, it all started rather humbly, didn't it?
It did. He started as a management trainee. His first assignment was moving furniture.
Really?
But this seemingly insignificant role turned out to be a major turning point.
Oh, wow. I mean, how so? What made it so significant?
Well, his dedication in that role, just his meticulous work ethic, it caught the attention of George Getty, who saw potential in this young man. And so Eddie's willingness to embrace any task, no matter how small, it ultimately led to his appointment as George Getty's assistant.
Wow, so he really started from the bottom and worked his way up.
He did, yeah.
This close relationship with George Getty, I mean, that must have placed him in a unique position to observe the world of the elite.
Right. It wasn't just a professional dynamic. I mean, they formed a genuine bond. And through managing a wide range of responsibilities for George, everything from the ordinary to the extraordinary, Eddie got a glimpse into the eccentricities of the super wealthy.
So it wasn't all glamorous.
Oh, no, not at all.
Tell me about it. I know he kept meticulous notes in those notepads. Anything in there that sort of illustrates that?
Well, his notepads are filled with these detailed accounts of Getty's requests, some of which were quite unusual.
What like?
One time George asked him to investigate all the laundry places in Rome.
Oh, my goodness.
Another time he had to find a specific type of telephone that Getty wanted.
Wow.
It was just a constant whirlwind of requests, both big and small.
So it sounds like he was always on his toes.
Definitely, he had to be adaptable and resourceful.
But his responsibilities weren't just limited to personal tasks. He actually played a key role in a major business acquisition, didn't he?
He did. He was involved in the acquisition of Douglas Aircraft,
That's impressive.
which really demonstrated his independent thinking and, a boldness that impressed even J. Paul Getty.
Wow, so he was already making a name for himself. But this journey with the Gettys, it wasn't just boardrooms. He also ended up managing the Hotel Pia Marqués in Acapulco.
Right.
Now, what kind of challenges did that present?
Oh, managing a luxury hotel came with its own set of hurdles. Evie faced irrigation problems on the new golf course.
Oh.
He had to find a type of grass that could withstand the harsh climate.
Oh, wow.
And of course, there were always demanding guests to contend with. It really tested his resourcefulness and his ability to think on his feet.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And those experiences from those early days at Getty Oil to the hotel management, they really laid the groundwork for what was to come.
So in a way, he was getting a crash course in handling chaos.
He was. He was learning how to navigate complex situations, how to adapt to unpredictable circumstances, and most importantly, he was forging those crucial relationships that would serve him well later on. It's amazing how all those seemingly disparate experiences prepared him for something as momentous as the creation of ESPN. It all really begins with this almost chance encounter between Evey and Bill Rasmussen at a hotel in Hawaii.
So a fortuitous meeting that basically changed the landscape of sports.
Exactly.
So Rasmussen had this idea, this really bold idea, for an all-sports cable network.
Right, using satellite technology, which at the time,
That was crazy.
yeah, I mean, cable television was still in its very early stages.
And people really thought this was just a pie-in-the-sky idea.
Right. I mean, a lot of the industry veterans, they were quite skeptical. They were like, a whole network just for sports. Is that really going to work?
So what was Evey's reaction? Because he didn't know much about cable at this point.
He didn't, but I think he had a good sense for opportunities and he saw the potential in it. But being the meticulous person that he is, he proceeded with caution and really dug deep into the idea.
What did that look like? What did he do?
He started calling people RCA executives, just learning everything he could about satellite technology. He wanted to understand the advertising-based revenue model. Could this thing actually make money?
So he wasn't just taking Rasmussen's word for it, he was actually doing his research.
Exactly.
So they had that initial meeting in Hawaii. Was there any other interaction, or was that sort of it?
Yeah, there was a key meeting that followed where Evey, along with his colleague Wendell Niles, they attended a meeting with Rasmussen.
So now he's bringing in other people to kind of get their opinions as well.
Right. He wanted to observe Rasmussen, see his pitch, how he presented himself, and, Evey was asking really insightful questions, but still very much taking it all in and being cautious.
So not fully committed yet at this point.
Not yet.
It's interesting to think about how close this all came to not happening.
It is, and I think the real turning point came during a plane trip with some Getty Oil executives.
Okay.
Evey had strategically arranged for Rasmussen to present his vision directly to Harold Berg, who was, one of the key decision makers at Getty.
Wow, so it's not just the idea itself, but it's also about who you know and how you present it.
Exactly, right.
And he chose to do this on a plane.
That's right, on a flight to Midland, and Rasmussen seized that opportunity. I mean, he just presented his vision so convincingly that he managed to persuade Berg.
So Evey's sort of stage managing all this, bringing the right people together. That's incredible.
He really was, and that was a pivotal moment because they finally secured that initial investment.
That was the first hurdle.
The first of many.
Because obviously, building a network from scratch, that's no easy feat. So what were some of the challenges that they ran into along the way?
Well, right from the start, it became very clear that their initial budget, which was $10 million, wasn't going to be nearly enough.
$10 million. That's a lot of money, but apparently not enough.
Not for this venture.
So right off the bat, you're dealing with financial constraints.
Right, exactly. I mean, startups are unpredictable, and they were quickly burning through that money.
What about other problems aside from money?
Well, personalities, right? Managing people with different visions and ideas, that's always a challenge. Evey's relationship with Jet Simmons, who was ESPN's first president, was strained from the beginning. They just didn't see eye to eye on things.
Oh.
Yeah, and Evey didn't really have much confidence in Simmons's business acumen.
So even with this groundbreaking venture, you still have to deal with these interpersonal conflicts and clashes of style.
Right, it's the human element. But Evey, he was a strategic thinker. He found ways to navigate these challenges. And one of his biggest moves was securing the rights to broadcast the USFL games.
That's interesting. The USFL, that was the rival football league to the NFL.
Right, and Evey saw an opportunity. He knew that Ted Turner was also interested in the USFL rights, and he wanted to outmaneuver Turner.
And they didn't have much money at this point, right?
Exactly, but Evey was resourceful. He leveraged his relationships with advertising agencies to overcome those budget constraints.
Wow.
So that was a major victory for ESPN because it really solidified their position in that competitive sports landscape.
So again, it's not just about the product, but it's about the relationships, the connections.
Absolutely. It's all interconnected.
Now, as the network grew, the financial challenges, they didn't go away, right?
No, not at all.
So how did Evey ultimately address that?
He knew that they needed a major infusion of capital, and he realized that partnering with an established media company that would give them the resources they needed and, the legitimacy to really propel ESPN to the next level. So he made the decision to sell a minority stake in the network.
That's a big decision. So who were the potential buyers?
Well, he started talking to ABC and CBS.
So the big networks were interested.
Oh, yeah. And every brilliant negotiator that he was, he played them against each other, highlighting the value of ESPN, the growth potential. He was able to secure a deal with ABC.
So that was a real turning point for ESPN,
Oh, yeah.
because now they had the financial backing of a major network.
Absolutely. They had the resources, they had the recognition, and they were poised for even greater success.
But I imagine it wasn't all smooth sailing, even with this new partnership.
Right. I mean, you had these strong personalities involved. Evie and Rune Arlich, the head of ABC Sports, they definitely had their moments.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. There's a story about a dinner to celebrate the partnership. And Evie, he made this kind of playful jab at Arlich,
Oh, really?
which sort of hinted at this underlying tension. So you can see that even with the successful alliance, you still have to navigate these egos and personalities.
So it was more than just a business deal. It was about managing relationships as well.
Exactly.
Now, eventually, Evie's time at Getty Oil came to an end.
It did.
Why did he decide to leave? I mean, he had put so much into building ESPN.
I think it was a bittersweet moment for him. On one hand, he was leaving behind this incredible venture that he had nurtured, from this crazy idea to this thriving network.
Right.
But on the other hand, he had achieved something truly remarkable. He had revolutionized sports media.
So it's time for a new chapter.
I think so.
Well, before we wrap up, I'd love to kind of distill some key takeaways from Abby's journey. What can we learn from his experiences?
Well, there's a lot to unpack here, but I think one of the most striking takeaways is the importance of adaptability.
Absolutely.
I mean, Evie went from moving furniture to managing a hotel to spearheading the creation of a global media empire.
He wore a lot of hats.
He did, and each experience, no matter how different, it seemed to equip him for what came next.
That's incredible. So adaptability is key. What else?
His intuitive grasp of timing was also crucial. He recognized the potential of cable and satellite technology before many others, and he seized that opportunity at the right moment.
He was ahead of the curve.
He was. And he wasn't afraid to take risks.
Calculated risks, right?
Right.
What about the importance of relationships? That seems to be a recurring theme in his story.
Absolutely. Evie understood that success is often about building and nurturing those connections. He had relationships with executives, athletes, even Hollywood agents, and those relationships, they helped him overcome obstacles and achieve his goals.
So networking is more than just collecting business cards. It's about fostering genuine connections.
Exactly. It's about building trust and mutual respect.
What about his approach to negotiations? He seemed to have a knack for getting what he wanted.
He was a masterful negotiator. He knew how to leverage his assets, how to play key players against each other, and he always seemed to find a way to create a win-win situation.
So it's not just about being tough, it's about being strategic.
Right. It's about understanding the needs of all parties involved and finding a way to meet those needs.
Now, Evie faced a lot of challenges along the way. How did he deal with those setbacks?
With resilience, he never gave up even when things got tough. He faced budget constraints, personality clashes, skepticism from the industry, but he persevered.
He had that grit.
He did, and that's such an important quality for anyone who wants to achieve something great.
And of course, we can't forget his vision. He believed in this idea of an all-sports network when most people thought it was crazy.
Right, and that boldness, that willingness to champion a revolutionary idea, it's truly inspiring. He didn't just create a network, he changed the way we consume sports.
That's a powerful legacy.
It is.
Anything else we should highlight?
Well, his meticulousness, his attention to detail, that's something we can all learn from. He took copious notes. He did his due diligence. He left no stone unturned.
He was thorough.
He was, and that thoroughness, it served him well.
What about his approach to saying no?
That's a really interesting point. Evie understood the importance of respecting the other party's right to decline. And that approach, it fostered a more collaborative and ultimately more successful negotiation process.
So it's not always about getting your way, it's about finding common ground.
Exactly.
And finally, Evie's story reminds us that success isn't just about money or fame.
Right. It's about finding fulfillment in the journey itself and in the relationships we build along the way.
Well said. So as we wrap up our deep dive into Stuart Evey's world, I think we could distill his journey into 10 key takeaways. 1, adaptability. 2, intuition and timing. 3, relationship building. 4, negotiation mastery. 5, resilience. 6, vision and boldness. 7, meticulousness. 8, the power of no. 9, mentorship. And 10, finding fulfillment beyond financial gain.
Fantastic summary.
And as we think about Evey's incredible journey, it begs the question, what seemingly crazy ideas are out there today that could completely transform industries.
And what can we learn from Evie's path to navigate this complex world of innovation and entrepreneurship?
It's something to think about. Until next time, keep diving deep. See IC 87.